Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Jessica Jones Season 2, Episode 7. It's called I Want Your Cray Cray. I can't even say that without putting on a stupid voice, because it's such a stupid phrase. So...
Do you know what? That's the first point. I didn't realise Cray, in that context, had been around so long.
Do you even know what year this is? Because that was something I was wondering, actually, as I was watching it. Is rough, it's like 2010 or something like that? Like, when are we?
I'm just thinking, so we know it was 5 years after the crash, right?
Did they say that? Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
There's a 5 years later.
Yeah, 5 years later. Okay, after the crash, 5 years. And what was Jessica when the crash happened?
I mean, looking at her, maybe 14? I don't know.
Yeah, she says in college, so yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
But do we know what age Jessica is now?
We don't know, but I mean, I'm just saying this feels maybe around a decade ago, give or take.
What age is Kristen Ritter? Maybe that'll help us.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Born in 81.
So she's
probably older than she's playing, actually. Because that's she's in her mid-late 30s there.
Yeah. I'd have said the character's around 30-ish.
Yeah.
So that puts us about a decade ago.
So 2008-ish. Okay. Right. I was wondering as I was watching. I was like, where exactly is this?
Yeah. There's nothing explicit to date it.
Yeah, because technology's not changed that absurdly much. Smartphones were already starting to be a thing then, so it's not.
I think the first iPhone was around then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2007, 2008, something in that range. I vaguely remember just getting out of school and like you had the one friend who had one and he was obsessed with it because no one else had a smartphone yet, so it was like all the apps and things. You can do all these things on it.
Like, shut up! I'll punch you in the face.
Yeah. This is a complete flashback episode, if that was not obvious. Full spoilers if I didn't say that already. So we obviously have been pretty down in this. We come into this flashback. So we start with some narration from Jessica's mother, Alyssa, and we kind of get her story. Here's just my first... And this is not the only show that's guilty of this, right? I want to make that clear. Other things are guilty of this as well. But I just want to say I have a distaste for... This person is clearly narrating this story. Even if you don't hear them narrate it throughout, it starts and ends with her kind of like bookending it with narration, right? Yeah. So she's telling the story of what happened years ago. Yet we have lots of scenes that don't have her in it in the flashback story.
That really bothers me.
Now, I'll give it some credit though. It never breaks away from Jessica either. Like, it's always either her or Jessica, and Jessica is in the scene talking to her. So you can maybe, like, surmise, okay, she's kind of filling in the gaps, but she's talking to her.
She's talking back, saying, this is what I was doing.
You can get, because it never breaks away and says, oh, here's Trish on her own in a scene. It never does that. So I'll give it at least that much credit. But it was still, I still kind of noticed it. I mean, that's kind of weird. Why is Jessica recounting this? She already knows her half of it.
Yeah. Also... And again, this is something I find that I question a lot when I have a flashback episode in anything is, what's the purpose of this? What's this adding for me? What do I learn that I couldn't have learned through just, conversation or that I didn't know already? Because I'll give them the actual Alyssa stuff. That is fresh information. Most of the Jessica and Trish stuff, I mean, I don't know how much of that adds up really to what I needed.
I'm not disagreeing with that criticism, but just to play devil's advocate, we did not know about this boyfriend who died.
No, we didn't. And I will say, when he first pops up in the club, I'm like, oh God, please don't let him pop up later in the show.
No chance of that. In fact, my favourite moment of this episode was by far his death, because Alyssa snapping and just smashing his head into a wall was quite visceral, and I was like, it almost woke me up, because the show's so placid with its the way it shoots things that it was like, oh, this actually has energy to it. This is it. It's exciting.
I know, it's true. That subplot, I guess, was completely new information.
Yeah,
I will concede that.
Yeah, and to be fair, it was a fairly large. I didn't love all of it though. Like the whole thing where there's these like guys wanting money off of him because they invested in his club that he's still not started.
Called Alias.
Yeah, called Alias, which is obviously where she got the name for her PI firm. I do wonder how much of this season is actually from the comics in some way, because I know the original Alias comic book run was, that ended with the Purple Man.
Yes.
So I'm wondering just how much this stuff with her mother, did that show up in another comic book later on, or is it completely, new for the show. I'm curious. Fans.
Yeah, I read the original stuff. I don't recall any of the stuff with the mother in there.
Yeah, but I'm saying she's popped up in more books since then.
She has, yeah.
She's been in Defenders. She's been in various other things. She's got a current Jessica Jones book right now. Well, it just ended, I think.
For now, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because Bendis is the one who was writing it, so he's leaving. It may be getting relaunched by another writer though, because Marvel like to do that. But because as you know, Bendis is coming to DC to do Superman. Comic book fans will get why I'm laughing as I say that. Everyone else, that went over your head. Don't worry, we're moving back onto the show. So I mean, I think this was probably arguably better than the last couple of episodes, mainly because it felt more focused. I think it was less haphazard because it was honing in on just a couple of key things. I think you've got a valid point where like some of this did feel like the scene where Alyssa snaps and breaks out, and we see the nurse character we've had in present day, and we see her get thrown into the glass and be injured, and we see her snap the neck of the other nurse. It's all done well enough, but I did think at the time, well, we kind of knew all this. This scene, we knew everything that happened in this scene already from conversation.
Right. It's like it's a problem where they've pigeoned themselves into doing like the whole flashback, so they've got to tell the whole story in order. So they kind of have to do that moment.
Don't get me wrong, I actually think it works better to show and not tell. The problem is though, they told us before they showed us it, so it feels like kind of redundant, oddly.
Yeah, we'd already knew it.
Whereas I think if they hadn't told us this already, and it was kind of still kind of a mystery, this scene would have probably been really good, just on its own merits. Like, I think it would have worked really well.
Yeah, if we hadn't known that the Doctor had, gone through such an injury, and then we just see her there.
Well, I don't think we even had to not know that she was injured. I think the problem is that she specified it too much. Like, oh, I watched the other nurse get killed. I get thrown into glass, and I would have been paralyzed. Had it just been kind of mysterious, like, oh, I was injured, but I got better. Like, because I think that would have been enough. Where there was still enough mystery. Okay, so how badly? Like, because maybe we would think, because if we'd got that first say, and let's say, okay, it was implied she was injured, but we just assumed it wasn't too bad because she's fine. And we got this flashback before we found out, oh no, it took like another person with superpowers to make her better. And we saw her in this get completely like thrown out of the glass and be on the floor, completely paralysed. Like, it'd be like, oh wait, how did she get better? And then that could have lent on to
I agree. That's the thing I think which should have been moved around. Learning that, she had to get someone else to heal her with the powers.
Yeah.
That should have come after this, for sure.
Yeah. So, no, I think the scene in its own is fine. It's just all the information we've already got kind of just, softens
takes away the impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, softens it a little bit. Because the next snap's actually a good moment. Her lying with the glass in her back's really kind of... Well, I guess what I'm saying is the violence in this episode is quite good.
It
but
is, yeah.
As someone who enjoys some appropriate violence in my entertainment, I was digging it in this one. But like I said, the whole thing with the guys wanting the money, and I don't know how I feel about them leaving, because it's purely ambiguous as to whether or not the boyfriend was actually using Jessica. Because because the criminals are like, oh, your girlfriend's pretty strong, we could use her, and it's kind of like, it's into Jessica's mother who's listening to this conversation, and this is why she ends up killing him. It sounds like he's basically going to whore her out, not for sex, but whore her out for super strength.
To be fair, he does say, yeah, I'll talk to her, she'll do whatever I want.
Oh, no, he does. He does. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, right, fine, just kill him. I'm happy with this, right? But then, as when she confronts him about it, he says, no, I was just saying that to get them to go. I'm not necessarily going to just go and do that. Like, I'm going to go talk to her about what just happened. Like, and we don't know if he's telling the truth. Like, he could have been honest to them. He could have been honest to her. We don't know.
No, it plays either way. Especially as like, sure, Jessica's been, getting a lot of money, stealing them gifts, just boots, jackets, all the usual stuff, I suppose.
Which is enough to make you think that he's been using her the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly. So it tracks as plausible.
Yeah. But at the same time, part of you wants to think, oh, well, maybe because I think the reason why, honestly, the only reason why I think, other than the fact that he says that, oh, he just said that, and is okay, it feels in line with his character that he's been squirming, he's just saying that to get out of this. But that also would lead to the fact that he was just saying it before a minute ago to get out of that situation. But the other reason why you kind of lean towards that, or maybe he was being genuine and he wasn't going to just use her, is because we've set up the fact that Alyssa jumps to conclusions, and because she's jumping to the conclusion, it makes you question if you should be as well. You're like, well, no, because we've shown that she's unhinged, because that's part of the side effects of her powers, is that she has serious mood swings.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
and And I don't know if like. Normally, I think I'd like that ambiguity. I don't know if I like it here though. I don't have a debate to make for it. I don't know if I like it.
Okay, here's the problem.
Okay.
This is probably never going to come up again. This boyfriend.
Sure.
So it's like it kind of feels like this probably should have just had an answer, because I don't know if I should care. Well, if there's a mystery like this, if it's ambiguous, it should leave me thinking. Ultimately, though, I'm kind of going, it's something in the past. It doesn't really it's not going to impact anything.
Here's possibly the real problem with it, is that I think it'd be okay for the ambiguity if Jessica also didn't know. Like if it was a question that Jessica also had, if she'd heard like both things in some way, like I don't know how, and she wasn't sure if he was a good guy or a bad guy, then we'd feel like her. As it is, though, she just thinks he loved her, and now he's dead, and she's like.
I mean, she doesn't anymore because her mother's just told her. So now.
Okay, now in present day, sure, but I mean, like,
there wasn't for however the past decade, whatever we're going with.
Yeah. So, like, again, I feel like this is probably the episode with some of the better ideas and scenes than a while. Some of it I'm not so hot on. All the Trish stuff, I wanted to bash my head against the wall. And I get that it's supposed to be an annoying pop song, but they let it play just a little bit too long in that opening thing in the club. Yep. Just a bit too much.
We get it. Jessica hates it. We hate it too. Can we move on now?
Yeah, we're with her on this. We're with her. And the whole thing, and like her like Jessica catching her in the bathroom with the club owner who was giving her drugs and all the rest of it, and I think the friend with addiction storyline is something that I think has to be played. I think and I admit this is some of me bringing this to the table, but I think I'm quite pernickety with how this is handled, because I think more often than not I find myself rolling my eyes because it feels like an after-school special rather than just genuine drama. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think my problem with it here is it's the same problem as with the glass in the back. We've already been told how bad she was in the deep end. We knew she had to go to rehab. We knew this was all this again. So it kind of feels like, we've seen. We already know this is what she's like. We're seeing it now in the present day because that's what's going on. With a new problem. So this just feels like, hey, look, we'll just show that again. I'm like, but why? It's not giving me anything new.
Yeah, anything we didn't know from just hearing about her addiction problem in the past, we're getting the new version of it. We don't have to see it because we can. Okay, so it's like this. She's acting like she would have done back then. We get enough of it. I mean, they could have had the implication this was going on in the background at the time for when it's relevant to Jessica, but there's too much of it where it's like, no, we have to kind of show this is the fall and where she decides to like get off of it and all the rest of it, and I felt like it was too much time on it, and I guess that the movie was going to start playing on the wall because it was going to call back to that opening scene, and it was going to make. To be fair, no, it's a nice, well-rounded moment because it harkens back to the first episode of the season.
That's the sort of predictability I like.
Yeah, obviously, because you realise they're on the same roof, that's the same wall. This is probably going to be the first time they see the movie, and that's why that has a meaning to them because they remember being there that night. Yeah. Also, Touch of Evil, fantastic film, so good movie choice this time as well.
It is. It's a great movie.
So. It was funny because I didn't recognise it quite at first when it was just a guy holding the bomb. It was when he put it in the car, I'm like, I know what this is.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, so there's moments there. There was a curious fascination to me of having, after Alyssa breaks out, she goes and sees Trish's mum, and I actually thought that was kind of just a conceptual, like, the two evil mothers like,
I get that.
facing off.
And I have to question the choice of cover story, though. I used to be a teacher and I was in the city, so I thought I'd look her up.
Because most teachers have this relationship with their students from 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or whatever it would be at the time. Right.
I'm like, what? Who does that? Like, if you run into them, and sure, but you don't let them in the city. I'll track down their parents.
That said, there was one student in the year above me in school who I do know hung out with one of her teachers, like after they finished school. They became friends.
See, that's fair, but I bet they didn't do this 5 years later and then go activally looking for them.
Sure,
right? They bumped into them, presumably.
I'm just saying it's the closest thing I can think of is the idea of being close enough that you maintain a relationship post school like that.
No, that's true. I still talk to a bunch of my teachers because my mother is friends with all the teachers' circles because she has a lot
Ah,
of
but
teacher
you've got a
friends.
connection to them then.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's like, yeah, I'll see them every so often. I'll say hello,
If
whatever.
I was related to someone who was one of the teachers, I'm sure I'd probably end up running into a lot of them.
Right,
You know,
exactly. But this just seems so strange to me. It's like, yeah, I was in the city. All right, so you're right. Okay, big city for a start. Thought, oh, do you know what I'll do when I'm
yeah, New
here
York
on
City.
a trip?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm in New York on a trip. I know what I'll do. I'll go look up that student I had 5 years ago.
Big Apple.
Big bollocks. And I love the Trish's mother doesn't even question it.
No, she just goes for it. Uh, I mean, there's potentially some interesting things where Jessica basically tells Trish to go to her mother for help.
Hmm.
Uh, which I have to imagine she just feels guilty about now. So yeah, there's some interesting potential there. Um, and I mean that's basically it, right? That's basically the episode. It's
I think
everything.
so.
Obviously, there's more scenes with like Alyssa getting tested on and like demanding to know where her daughter is and finding out
I
that.
will say the doctors did a phenomenal job with her plastic surgery on her face. Given that, that opening scene right after the accident,
Yeah, why,
when
why
she
does
first
the
wakes up,
back of the head still look so bad?
they were like, no one's going to see the back of the head. It doesn't matter. Let's not waste time on that. But like, she is, like completely horrifically scarred, twisted.
Oh, I have to laugh actually. When she comes back, when she overreacts and kills the guy, and she's already killed obviously the nurse and stuff to escape. She goes back and says, "I can't be around her. I have to come back, and you have to help me." And Dr. Carl's like, "Yeah, I'll help you. Of course I will." I have to laugh though when she first walks back into the lab. There's like an extra playing an orderly or a doctor or
He
whoever.
backs away in fear.
He walks out of the room and he sees her and he goes, "Oh God!" and he runs away. And I have to admit, it was funny because his acting was quite bad, and I was kind of chuckling to myself about it. But hey. So I mean, this wasn't a terrible episode. I mean, some of it was redundant, but which makes it unfortunate. But the funny thing is most of the stuff it was redundant about. Maybe not the Trish stuff. The Trish stuff was kind of hammy anyway. But the other stuff that was redundant, actually, the scenes were fine on their own. It was just that
It
we've
was
already
just
had
I
this.
felt there's this in my mind. I'm going, why am I watching this? Even though it's perfectly well told here, why are we doing it?
I have to also give props to the ending because it cuts back to present day, and Alyssa's told the whole story. Jessica's still standing there where we left them off at the end of the last episode, and
She still has the same tear running down her eye, which
yeah,
makes me question how long this narration's been going on.
it's another tear. She's wiped it away already, and there's a new tear.
Fine,
May have been several tears.
fine, I'll allow it.
This is a cycle of tears. You see, much like the universe, rebirths and goes through all the motions and then dies and starts again. The tear cycle. Wipe again. Wipe again.
I can't fault that.
And she ends her whole speech. Could you ever learn to forgive me? There's a moment of pause, and then Jessica punches her in the face and says no. I have to admit, I laughed my ass off at that.
I did too, but then I was questioning. I don't. Was it meant to be funny?
Oh, of course, it had to have been. There's no way they did that and didn't think
Right,
people
that's
would
the thing.
laugh.
But I think that shows you just my disillusionment with the season. Is I went,
Oh, sure, yeah.
was that bad or funny?
No, I think there's supposed to be emotion in it, but I think it's supposed to be like, yeah, don't just like fall for the trap of like giving her credit. But I think it is supposed to be funny. There's that
I
dark
really hope so.
Jessica Jones style of black humor. I think it's meant to be there. It has to be.
No, that's all right. Because I did proper laugh, and I was like,
Yeah.
then I laughed, and then took a moment, was like, was I supposed to laugh?
It was genuinely pretty funny. Then of course Dr. Carl comes in and drugs her and knocks her out. So we're going to wake up next time or she'll wake up next time with being in the lab and being in restraints probably, and who knows what they're going to do on her. The Frankenstein that he is.
Yeah, exactly.
However, not that we're going to find out, because now we said last time that we were probably going to finish, but first of all, we listed a bunch of reasons why we normally drop a show, and then realised as we were speaking that describes Jessica Jones season 2. But we said we'd still probably finish because we had time. However, we looked ahead as to how busy April was going to be because of all the TV coming back. There's like 4 or 5 weekly shows starting end of March and into April. Plus, there's multiple Netflix shows throughout April. And we looked ahead, and to actually make sure everything runs smoothly in April, we actually have to start getting ahead in things like Star Trek and things like movies for Influx. And to do that, we kind of had to. Well, we looked at the next couple of weeks and went, well, we're only going to have time to do all those in advance if we don't do Jessica Jones for the rest of the season. And since no one really commented saying they'd be heartbroken if we stopped doing it, and given that we clearly aren't that excited about watching any more of it, we're making the call. And we're exiting here, even though this was a better episode than the last couple.
No, it says a lot. This is probably the best episode of the season.
It probably is, yeah.
But that's not a good sign when the flashback is the best episode.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Sometimes you have flashback episodes of...
Okay, but considerably better.
Like, Friends Season 2, the flashback episode in that is probably the second best episode of the season. But that's not because it's a comment in the rest of the season, it's just because that's a really good goddamn episode.
Okay, fair enough. This one felt like an actual competent episode compared to others, which felt like a mess, though.
Yeah, okay,
is my point. So I feel like once it gets back to the present day, I doubt it retains this sense of focus, and it will split back up into all the other characters again.
Yeah, probably.
I will say the only thing I'm disappointed about that we're not going to finish it is I know Tennant was filming at some point, and don't know where that happens.
Maybe another flashback or whatever. Do we let people just spoil it for us in the comments? Unleash.
Yeah, make sure you tag it as spoilers just in case anyone else is watching ahead and haven't finished it yet.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Be respectful still.
Yeah,
but, yeah, we don't care anymore.
But yeah, but I think we're out. As funny as this ending was,
yeah.
I think we're out. Which is interesting because we've set kind of a double precedent now because we gave up on Punisher after 5 episodes. Jessica Jones, which was arguably the one we were most excited about going forward, we're giving up after 7 episodes. It really brings into question if we're even going to start Luke Cage season 2 or Iron Fist season 2.
Luke Cage, especially the first half, was considerably better than the second, which was still all right.
Yeah,
but it was still in the better end of the Netflix Marvel shows for sure.
Yeah. But that's the thing. We're at a point now where we're just not excited for any of them.
No, definitely not.
So,
and I think again it'll be depending on how busy I am. The time. Like, if it comes up for Iron Fist and it's dead, yeah, sure. We'll
see how bad it is. Yeah, for a laugh. Yeah, sure.
But that's more intriguing to me. It's like, oh, let's watch the train wreck than actually let's watch something good.
Mostly, I just want to see Mr. Knight's robot arm. That's the one curiosity I have is how good is this robot arm?
yeah.
That's what it is. I think I think just to sum up, kind of us like, and this is the midpoint of the season, so we're dipping out exactly halfway through. I think the fact that it's taken us this long to get to episode 7, it's been a little bit longer than maybe we would have typically done. Although that said, when we get really busy in April, the Netflix shows we're doing will probably take a little bit longer spread out anyway.
That's not for lack of interest on those ones.
I think the fact that we just don't care, we're 7 episodes in out of 13 and we don't actually care how it ends is the biggest criticism we can give it.
It is, and I feel like every time I go to watch an episode I'm like, I suppose I'll sit down and watch this rather than actually wanting to.
Yeah, so I have to do this. This is work having to do this, as opposed to, and there's a point. Like I said last time, there is a point where what are we actually preventing? Other than people who hate watching it and want to hear us tear it to shreds, and I admit there's probably some of you, and that's cool. I appreciate that, but to everyone else who's coming back for a show they like, they necessarily want us to tear it to shreds. If time is no issue, I'd say let's just finish it.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But time is an issue, so there's just better things to be focusing on. So this will be our last Jessica Jones review. So apologies if that disappoints anyone. I really hate disappointing folk, but bigger and better things coming up are important, and we have to get focusing so that we can do them all and not fall behind schedule and everything else. So thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the episode, of course, and the season as a whole. Because I imagine a lot of people have finished it by now. I mean, it's been a good week and a half.
We're taking our time here.
Yeah. So let us know what you thought of the show this season. But otherwise, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. If you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV is a link in the description. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?